All right, Ash, you're live.
Hello everybody, it's Ashley Alexander here from Gather and Feast. I'm excited to be coming to you live today at the Barilla Australia page. Today we're going to cook a delicious pasta dish. This is the first of Barilla Australia's At Home with Barilla series. So they have a series of cooks and chefs and creators that will be cooking at home with you over the coming weeks. So I'm excited to kick it off with a creamy tomato vodka sauce. So this dish is not a typical traditional Italian dish. I think maybe I read 20 years ago, it had its moment in Italy in the more touristy areas. So it's not your authentic dish. But I had it actually in LA a couple of years ago. It's delicious, it's a bit of fun. We're gonna go with it. We're using a bit less cream than normal, so it's a little bit lighter, but I'll give you the options as we go. So for this, we are using Barilla Fusilli. I love the way that the pasta sauce clings to this pasta, gets all in the spirals and just really delicious. You could also use a rigatoni or a penne, something that you have on hand. We've got some olive oil, some finely diced shallots. If you don't have shallots, you can use a small red onion. We've got some minced garlic, some bell pepper and chili flakes, tomato paste, some milk, whole milk, vodka, cream, basil, parmesan, salt and pepper. It's going to be delicious. So first up, we are going to get our water on to boil. We're going to crank that and get our pasta on. So we want the pasta and the sauce to come together at the same time. So as soon as we drain the pasta, it's going straight into the sauce to really emulsify and coat that pasta. So we'll crank that, get that happening, and then we will. Yes.
Can this be made with gluten-free pasta?
Yes. And the Barilla gluten-free pasta is actually my favorite gluten-free pasta. It holds its shape really well. I'd recommend cooking it 2 minutes under the time it says on the box, as it'll finish off in the sauce, but that would be perfect. So we're just going to come over to the stove.
Carly says hello.
Hey Carly.
Got a few guys in here watching.
Okay, so first up we've got our water on to boil and we're going to crank that up, and then we're going to have a heavy based saucepan onto medium to low heat. So you want a large enough saucepan so that when you drain the pasta it will all fit as you mix it up. So we just want a couple of tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil, and in go our shallots. So you want a heat that will soften these, but we don't want them browned or crispy. We want that real mellow sort of flavor. And then we're also going to add our chili and red bell pepper flakes. So pepper flakes are really mild. You'll notice there's a lot in here. And I've also mixed some hot chili flakes. You can do it to your tasting. So if you have a mild chili flake, use that, or if you have really hot ones, just use a pinch to however hot you like it. We want a little bit of heat, but not overpowering. So we're going to sweat that off for a minute or two, and then crank our water. You might notice I don't have a lid on. I don't use a lid to boil my water because I don't like washing the lid, so I just crank the temperature.
Good, Ash, good. Who washes up though?
I do.
Yeah, okay, good.
I'm a wash as I go kind of gal. So you want to keep an eye on these, saute them off nicely.
So what are we cooking for people that have just joined us?
We are cooking a tomato vodka sauce with fresh basil. Super delicious, especially on this freezing cold Melbourne day. If you're in Melbourne. Let us know where you're watching from, say hello. Feel free to ask any questions as we go along. Okay, so as our pasta water comes up to a boil, you want to add a generous amount of sea salt. You want it salty like the sea. It's coming up nicely. And then keep an eye on your shallots. And then in a moment, we will add the garlic. So I like to cook the shallots off first, because they take longer than that finely minced garlic. And you don't want a burnt garlic flavour in the dish, because it will really come through. So our water is perfectly boiling. In goes some salt. Okay, so this cooks for 11 minutes. We're going to cook it for about 9. because we're going to finish it off in the sauce. So we'll take note of the time. 16 past 12. So give it a little stir until it starts moving again, back up to the boil. Delicious. And like I said before, you could also use a penne or a rigatoni instead of the spirals, but I love the spirals with this sauce. Super delicious. Okay, that is looking really good. You can see that it's starting to soften, no color. If you notice that it's starting to go a little bit brown or crispy, just turn your heat right down or remove it from the heat. So now we're going to add our garlic. I grated this with a microplane. You could also crush it. And then we just want that to really mellow out into the sauce. And then we're going to add, after we give this maybe 30 seconds to a minute, we're going to add our tomato paste. So we want to cook the tomato paste off for about 4 minutes. You can see it's quite dark here, but it's going to go even darker. So almost like this really dark brick, like a brick red, you'd say almost. That's looking good. So we'll add the tomato paste straight in there. Now cooking the tomato paste off sort of takes away the acidity, the real acidy taste of the tomato, and really intensifies that tomato flavour, which is what we want because we're adding, usually this vodka sauce would call for, say, a cup or a cup and a half of cream. For this recipe, we're going to do a mix of milk and cream. Also, if you wanted to make this recipe dairy-free or vegan, you could use a coconut milk. You will slightly taste the coconut flavour, but it is still a delicious option if you can't have dairy.
Melbourne says hello.
Hello.
Hi from Strathfield in Sydney.
Hey guys.
Drysdale.
What's the weather like in Sydney? Is it as cold as here? Usually it's nicer. Sunnier. Okay, check on the pasta. So it's kind of a little bit of a back and forwards, checking on your pasta, checking on your sauce, and then it will all come together. Hopefully at the perfect time, you know? Now that the tomato is in with the garlic as well, you can bring the temperature back up because it's like the tomato almost protects the garlic from burning. So, looking good. Might just let that sit for a moment and we'll grab a couple of our other ingredients. So we have, this is called a tomato vodka sauce. So we have vodka. So what the vodka does is it gives this punchy, peppery flavor to the sauce. So it cuts through the richness of the tomato and the creaminess. Really delicious. Now we cook all the alcohol content out, but if you don't have vodka, you could also use a white wine. Would have a similar effect, bit of a different flavor, but similar effect. And if you don't want to add alcohol at all, you could use a 1/4 cup of water, squeeze a bit of lemon in it and some fresh cracks of black pepper, and it will have a similar effect without the alcohol if you don't want to use it. But if you do have it, I highly recommend because it is really delicious. Okay, any favourite pasta dishes people have been making while in isolation? This is one of our new favourites. I've tried it with a couple of different creamy options. So you could use a whole cup of whole cream in here if you'd like to for that really rich flavour. I personally found it was a little bit too much. So we've gone with a mix of milk and cream. I've also tried it with Greek yogurt, which is beautiful but quite tangy. It's still a good option. Or you could use a cup of milk and then the 1/4 cup of yogurt instead of cream. So a few different options for you. So as you can see, this is somehow going even deeper red than it was before, which is perfect. Exactly what we want. Give that another moment or two. It'll sort of thicken up even more. And then when we add the rest of our liquids, the sauce will come together and go beautifully silky. So you could let this at home go 1 to 2 minutes further, but for the sake of time, I'm going to add the vodka now. So we want to add that and turn the temperature up a little tiny bit because we want to cook that alcohol content off. Careful not to splash yourself. This is a recipe you don't want to be wearing a light colour for. If it splashes on you. Okay, that is looking delicious. Bubbling off, you can tell that the vodka's cooked off there. Now we're going to add our creamy elements. So we've got our cup of whole milk. In that goes. And gently stir that through. And then we've got a 1/4 cup of cream. This is where you could also use a thick Greek yogurt if you don't want to use any cream at all. But for today I thought, you know what, let's use the cream. A little bit indulgent. Okay, and so we want this to stir, to come together into a really smooth sauce. So get all those lumps out. Take a couple of moments. Looking beautifully lush there. Delicious. Okay, almost. Check on our pasta again. Did I say 17 past?
16 was it?
16 past. Yeah. Okay, this is looking good. So now what you want to do is check the sauce for salt and pepper. Usually I would use my fingers, but because we're on camera, I'll use a spoon. So a generous pinch of salt. Don't add too much because we are going to reserve some of the salty pasta water and add it to the sauce as well. So you want to really make sure that you're salting at the end. So now before we drain the pasta, reserve about a cup and a half. We won't use it all, but it's better to have more than you need than drain it all down the sink and you can't save it. Okay, this is looking good. So now it's come together. It's that beautiful creamy orange color. And we're going to turn it off the heat. And now our pasta is ready. So we're going to drain it and put it straight into that sauce. So as you can see, once the elements, if you've pre-prepped all your elements, this pasta comes together really quickly, which is always a good thing. Chuck it back in here. Look at those bouncy spirals. Doesn't that just make you happy? Okay, in with the pasta.
Looking good.
Looking good. If only you could smell through Instagram. It smells so delicious. Now you want to add a little bit of that pasta water because as we add the parmesan, that's going to thicken the sauce up. So now we're going to add our finishing off elements and finish stirring it through. So we've got our sauce in here. We've got our pasta water. We're going to add our fresh basil leaves. So we're just going to stir the basil through. We want it to wilt slightly, and I've just kept a couple of basil leaves for garnish, so we can plate it nicely for you. Now we're going to add 80 grams of finely grated parmesan, a little bit of extra pasta water, maybe about 1/4 cup to 1/2 cup, and 2 tablespoons of butter. So that's just going to gloss the sauce, make it really silky and smooth. So then we stir that all through till the parmesan's incorporated and then that butter has melted and it goes this really silky sort of texture. So apparently when they used to make this in Italy, in the touristy spots only, they would finish the sauce at the table at the restaurant and flambe the vodka, so it would flames everywhere. Fortunately, we didn't do that for you today, guys. I'm sorry. You can't do that on an induction cooktop, unfortunately. Okay, this has almost come together. As you can see, that sauce is going beautifully silky. The parmesan's melted in. And then depending on how your sauce is going, just keep adding some pasta water and stirring it in until you get a smooth, silky consistency like that. Now here as well is where you want to taste for your salt and pepper. Because we added that pasta water that has the salt, it might be, you might have enough in there or you might want to add a little bit extra. I'm also going to add some freshly ground black pepper because I personally love it. And then we're gonna plate this up for you guys. And then as the sauce settles into the pasta, it just clings perfectly to it. So as I said before, we've used the spirals here because as you can see, it gets into all the sauce gets into the grooves of the pasta. This is a serving for two. But you could also use a penne or a rigatoni. That would be equally delicious. Some extra sauce.
So this is what we've used. Oh, look at that.
Guys, that is looking beautiful.
Do you do delivery, Ash?
Depends how close.
ISO delivery. In Melbourne.
ISO delivery. Add some of those fresh basil leaves, sorry.
Someone said, gosh, I'm hungry.
Seriously, if only you could smell it. Add some extra parmesan. Looking good. Some extra black pepper. And there you have it, guys.
There it is.
A delicious, super simple and easy creamy vodka tomato pasta. Perfect for this wintry day in Melbourne or wherever you're watching from.
For Mother's Day?
For Mother's Day, yes, happy Mother's Day for tomorrow to all the mothers out there. It's actually my first.
Ash's
First Mother's Day. We have a, what is she now? 11-week-old. Crazy.
What's Adeline getting you, Ash?
What is she getting me? That's the question.
And where can they find this recipe?
This recipe is on the Barilla Instagram page in the main feed. So I think it's the first image there, and also in the stories, and also on their website, the Barilla Australia website. So go find it there. Let us know if you make it. I think this story will be live for another 24 hours. So if you have any questions after this, jump on there, ask away, say hello. Thanks for joining us.
Are you going to try it, Ash? Is it?
Do you want me to try
Yeah,
it?
are you going to try it? You love eating on camera.
I do love eating on camera.
Good.
Guys, it's really good. Somehow, the vodka just gives it this delicious, punchy flavor. Cuts through that tomato, the creaminess of the milk and cream. Super delicious. Red pepper flakes. Give this a go if you can, guys. And if you do make it, make sure to share it with us. Tag Barilla Australia. Let us know what you thought. If you used a different pasta shape, let us know how you liked it. We'd love to hear from you.
And stay tuned, Barilla Oz have other chefs. And
They do, which will be exciting. I think we're also doing another one in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah.
A few great recipes coming up. Yeah, so be sure to look out for that. Hope you guys loved this recipe, cooking at home with us. Have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you soon.